MIBR had an awful performance at Masters Toronto. Their star Aspas did not step up. In fact, he stepped down. Every single player other than Verno had a bottom 5 ranking at the event of Masters Toronto, and it was awful. Verno actually did do very well. He had a top 5 ranking for a while there. But that caused a lot of questions within the community. Is MIBR just washed? Do they not have what it takes? Is Aspas a baiter who can't lead his team to success? Well, these questions were partially answered in the first game of America's Stage 2. MIBR got destroyed by Crew on Ascent. It was a 13-1 walloping. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen played in professional play. For example, Verno pied and Artson was 1 away from pieing. Aspas did well in that game and throughout the series, in fact being the only player that's positive, but I'm not going to talk about that Ascent game. I'm here to talk about Haven, where Aspas played his first ever Yoru. We're going to see, was that the problem? Or can the rest of the team simply not frag? Or is it a combination of both? I'm Lionzblade. Really hope you subscribe. I'm trying to get 10K by the end of the year, and let's get into it. Crew have a very strong buy right here into the bonus round that they have. They have 2 rifles, 2 guardians, and a specter. But Aspas instantly shuts it down. This is the only thing really that goes right for MIBR. He gets a kill and TP's out. But notice something. He prioritized buying full shields instead of any Yoru utility. You obviously get the teleport for free. That's going to be important later. Verno gets dinked up a lot, and while MIBR are still thinking it's A and Crew are still leaving a couple people here, they end up pivoting. Now, I really don't get the decision that happens right here. Artson, who is on the Duelist IGL, he ends up actually losing this pretty crucial gunfight to this Cypher here, but notice this. C is completely free now, and yet not a single member of MIBR moves to go over there. In fact, they think it's A even more. The answer to this is because for some reason they are completely convinced that despite C being completely given up, Cypher is the lurk. And while they're right, I don't know why they don't assume that Crew would take the spike over there or at least pivot over to B. But they don't do that. Instead, they sit A and sit A. Remember when I talked about Aspas not buying another teleport? This is where that could have been very helpful. So he could have tried to teleport and help or just rotated, done something, because now this B site is extremely weak. Cortezea dies, and you're in a 3v4 that's barely a 3v4 with Verno on 16 HP. Even so, Aspas still takes a long time looking for this lurk that you knew was C, thinking that it's came back A. It is not. Instead, they're going to end up going into this and kind of doing a half, do we want to go for this? I don't know. It happens, in my opinion, because you don't want to just give them the bonus round, but all of the MIBR players know that they are most likely not going to win this, so all it ends up doing is actually hurting their economy further, as Verno dies here, not going to be able to save the rifle, and while they do get a kill onto one of the crew members, Crew's money is actually a lot healthier, if you'll notice, than MIBR's. So this round was just not good at all for MIBR, and Crew taking this bonus round is huge in determining the outcome of the game. What does it take for MIBR to win a round? Well, some clutch plays, but also on this round specifically, they do pretty well in my opinion. Aspas on the Yoru goes ahead into mid, gets some info, gets out, and then Sheenum is able to get the first blood on a Mazzino. But immediately after, you have Cortezea who's going to lose this duel, as you'll see right there, on Garage. 1 for 1 here, he does kill Shy, but when Melzer gets the trade, then it becomes actually quite worrisome, even though MIBR have the advantage. See, he controlled a lot of the map with his trips, and now that they aren't there, MIBR are forced to literally all, if you'll notice, rotate over, thinking it's going to be a quick C hit or something through Garage. It's not. In fact, I'm surprised Crew didn't choose to go to A here. Instead, they chose to fake the site here, as you'll see in a minute, with Yoru. There wasn't anyone there to hear that, but obviously they don't know that. As you'll see, Yoru comes over here towards A, walks down long for a little bit, and then uses some utility right here. It's about to switch to him to try and fake that they're coming A. There's no one there to hear it, though. Yeah. So then, even though they've done this fake on A, they're about to hit B and just win out the gunfights. 3v2 scenario now, and you need someone on MIBR to be the hero. At first, it's Aspas. He goes in, knows someone is there because they planted, sees the ult, gets the kill. 2v2. But the real hero of this round is Artezine, and for a reason you might not expect. Right here, remember what the ISO Vulnerable does now? It also suppresses. This is important because Kesnet has his ult. Right here, As soon as Aspas dies, if Kesnet isn't suppressed, he's popping ult onto Artisan, and even if he loses, he's then going to go tell Dante, their new duelist, to go ahead and kill him once he comes out of ult. You win the round. But the suppress ends up letting him take this fair 1v1, which Artisan wins, and then he's able to actually win this duel against Dante, which, by the way, Dante had one of the craziest peaks I think I've ever seen. Look at this. I just want you to look at this. Take this in. What in the world is that in Tier 1 Valorant? Artisan able to make the hero plays there as well and get the kill. Overall, it was actually kind of awkward by MIBR by not leaving someone on A, having a lot of people in spawn, but it worked in their favor because the fake didn't suck them in as much. Now, MIBR want to build up momentum, string a couple of rounds together after that win. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I will say Aspas has some cool tech the casters are about to point out, where he has that Yoru clone set so that if Kesnet decides to ISO ult him, he'll pop the clone and the ult will only get the clone. However, Kesnet is ISO ulting over towards C, and while there is a cool little cinematic thing because both ISOs ulted, as you can see here, kill and then kill, it doesn't end up mattering. And I'm not one for the bait pass talk. I think that he is a more passive duelist, certainly, but not a baiter. In fact, he was tied for the most first engagements of this matchup with Dante, Crew's new duelist. However, this really was not a good round for him at all. Now, don't get me wrong, he's retaking with an op, but he seems very non-committed on what he wants to do here, and I honestly would have preferred if he had just saved the op right here, because what he does is he just stays in the smoke. There was never an attempt to actually get onto the site, which I get, you have the op, you're scared of that, right? But right here is something I really don't understand. If you're going to commit, commit. If you're not, don't. He waits for a little bit, trying to make Crew think that he's wrapped around Garage, and then goes in with the op. After he gets smoked off, he just kind of sits in the smoke, right? And just sits there and waits and waits and waits, gets in the smoke and waits, and it leads to this really awkward thing where both players are looking at him. You'll notice right here, ISO does do a quick glance towards Garage, but then both players are trained on this smoke, and he can't possibly watch all that. Maybe controversial, but I think he should have saved there. There wasn't really a recoverable gun. I think that's a situation where you save the op and go next. This is a very puzzling round. MIBR were able to get it back to 6-10 here, and all looks good. Crew did call a timeout, and they do have the read, but they only have sheriffs. Aspas has an outlaw. That's why, by the way, you're not going to end up walling this. Here's what I don't understand. After Melzer gets these 3 kills here, he's going to go on to get a sheriff ace. All is well and good, right? Great ace, hashtag unlock your ace. Person, don't buy from MIBR, by the way, they are buns. Anyways, Melzer goes ahead, he gets this kill onto Sheenham after he's teleporting, yada, 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 etc. Here's what I really don't get, and I would love if chat could explain this one to me. I get why ISO Wall isn't utilized here. After all, Aspas is here, he has the outlaw, you want him to be able to have a clear line of sight to get kills. As soon as Aspas dies, right here, there's kind of a pause to the round. I have no idea why we're popping shield instead of the wall here, right? I understand you may not think someone else is on the site. What else are you going to use the wall for, big guy? I really don't get this. Instead, he's mid-shield pop, Melzer gets a kill, Melzer gets another kill, and the entire round is destroyed by a very easily avoidable, in my opinion, mistake. Again, I get why you don't do it normally. Now, I could argue that while I understand why you want to have that outlaw, I think that having the wall is going to be pretty helpful, but I'm not even going to say that. I just don't know why after Aspas dies, you don't try and pop the wall. Instead, giving Melzer a clip, Cortesia's lurk is completely useless because the bomb is in spawn. Just overall, a pretty bad round, honestly, and I think this round kind of took the momentum firmly back in Crew's favor. This is what happens to BCT when you aren't subscribed to Lionzblade. Subscribe! One thing that really confused me with how Aspas was playing the Yoru on attack is I thought that when you're allowing him to play Yoru, you would let him do what he does best, which is go find space, even lurk a little bit, right? In that Yoru position, you're able to do stuff like that, but he didn't do too much of that at all. Honestly, MIBR didn't have a lot of lurks, period, but I honestly am not sure what was going on here. I would be tilted, personally. I just want you to look at this and then realize how much body blocking is going on. Crew have no idea what they're doing. I would be very upset in ranked. Obviously, this doesn't apply to pro setting, but if my ISO baited me and body blocked me to then lose his 1v1, I might be saying some not nice words to him. However, MIBR will win this round. Crew are ecoing. I'm not really sure why MIBR decided to go towards B, which in my opinion is a site where your eco weapons like your Bucky, like your Stingers are going to be the most effective here. But regardless, they do end up backing out. Shield and a lot of utility is wasted though. But you draw the sub ult as well, so whatever, right? Artson gets tagged. Hey, who cares, right? We're MIBR and they are on an eco. But once they pivot back towards A, they end up going ahead, and I mentioned the lurks earlier. Cortesia does go on a bit of a adventure here back towards mid, and they go ahead, use drone, cleared out the drone, tags the drone, all that good stuff. They realize A long is clear. Mazzino takes a peek that you're not taking if you're not on an eco. He just goes, yeah, we're supposed to lose this round. If we win, cool. If we lose, cool. But if I peek and get a cool kill, hey, I get a cool clip for Twitter. And obviously you need to take chances to win eco rounds, yada yada, but I liked my version better. Kesnet actually somehow gets out of here. He thinks he's on Neon with those jumps, and he might be. That was actually some really nice movement. But I talked about the lurks earlier and how impactful they could be for a comp like this, and it does. Right here, Cortesia has all of this garage space. They go ahead, they break the trip, and get towards a pretty open C site. The only person there is Shy, and he isn't even on the site. He backs off, goes and pops cages, but all he has is that classic to try and defend the bomb site. However, it gets really messy right here. First of all, Shy kills Cortesia as he's spamming with a Vandal through a smoke, then the run and gun through the Cypher cage. And it honestly is pretty over from this point. Even though he gets this kill into the Sova, he's instantly spammed and killed because he was tagged with the dart. You need an ass pass hero play here. He's not able to really give it to you. He's back long, but spam has not been meta. And even if it was, I don't think that you're going to be able to win that 1v3. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please go ahead and comment what you think the problem on MIBR is. I think it's a combination of you're forced into standard comps like that Ascent comp with Aspas not being able to play the Yori well, and then also the rest of the team just isn't really fragging. Combine that with a couple questionable IGL choices and you get this right here. Please make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Peace.